Hi guys, welcome to a new tutorial series on how to build a Roblox asymmetrical game. This is going to be the first version of the 3-version series. This will be going over the basic version, which is for those who haven't made a game like this before at all or haven't made too many Roblox games in general. I won't be going over the teaching of scripting too much, but I will show you the entire process of the scripting and setting up those scripts. By the end, you should be able to take what you have seen and create your own custom asymmetrical game. For those who don't know what an asymmetrical game is, it's a game that would be similar to Dead by Roblox, Blood Moon Aura, Flee the Facility, Daybreak, Escape the Darkness, or basically any other game that involves one team or person competing against another to win, but they have different methods or strategies to win. In this episode, we will be doing planning and map building first, as you should with any game. Here you see I build my lobby as a simple gray box with a spawn point inside for the players to start in. I add transparent walls so that we can see the maps outside while testing later on. Make sure to organize all your builds for scripting purposes. As shown, I put all my lobby parts inside a folder called lobby, and will also be putting my map build inside another folder. After you're done with your lobby and you're satisfied with the way it came out, you're going to create a new folder called map, or whatever you wish to call your map for the game. In this case, I call it an insert map name for the tutorial purpose. Inside that map, you're going to want to create another map, or another folder, called map data. This will be kept for scripting and interactions and spawn points later on down the line. Once you're done with those two folders, you're going to start building inside that first map folder and create your map however you want it. Keep in mind what kind of asymmetrical game you're aiming for. If it's going to be more hiding based or loot based or even fighting, and design the map to complement that kind of gameplay. For example, if it were to be hiding based, you'd want a darker map and maybe more props inside it, where you're playing hide and seek. And if it were looping based, you'd want to make little looping sections or areas, but leave little gaps. And plan out smooth flowing loops from one section of your map to the next. In my map, I'm building barriers because I don't want them running off. So those are what those red boxes are for. And I'm now starting to build debris into the game, little wood posts that are going to be holding my objective on top of them. And here you see me building little tall walls with a gap in between them. This is me planning ahead with my interactions. I intend on having little doors that you can use for looping, and I'm leaving a gap so that I can spawn those doors into the map later, but right now it's just going to be an empty gap. So if you have something like that with windows or vaults or crawl spaces, leave them empty for now and you'll fill them in later. Here I'm starting to make a new interaction for my game, which is going to be the fuse box. I'm adding these little blank silver metal walls that they're going to be attached to later on, but I'm not actually attaching the fuse box itself onto it because I'm going to model it and attach it later. After I'm done with making those, I move them into the folder and I create a new clone by doing Control D. And I'm gonna make it slightly different. I'm gonna name it a different name as well. And the reason I'm doing this is so that we can test the multi-map feature down the line. If you don't intend on having more than one map, you can skip this step entirely and just keep your one map. Once we have two different maps for testing purposes and you're satisfied with the way they came out, you're going to add a new folder into your map data and you're going to call it spawn. This is going to be used for our spawn points and scripting when we have to teleport the characters into the map. So now we're going to add a new part that will serve as a spawn point. And we're going to resize the spawn point to be 1 by 5 by 1 so that it's as tall as a person and we don't have to adjust the height when spawning. And now we're just going to start duplicating a bunch of them and dragging them all around the map. As you can see, I finished, so now I'm going to create a new spawn for my other map since each map needs their own set of spawn points. And now that I'm done with both my maps, I'm going to start going to server storage in the Explorer there. We're going to add a new folder and we're going to call it maps. This is where we're going to put every map we have for the game inside. So I collapse both my maps and I move them on over into the folder so that we can use them later when we're scripting in the next episode. Before I call it a day, I make sure to go into my test and run the game to make sure everything that I want anchored is anchored and nothing falls apart when the map loads into the game. It looks perfectly fine. Now that I know it works and I'm satisfied with it, I'm gonna go ahead and open up a notepad real quick. We're going to plan out some values and attributes we want later for our characters. So the very first thing we're going to want to plan out are the values and how they're going to be used, or what we need to save or move around during the game. In my case, I said I was going to use fuses and fuse boxes when map building, so I need to know if they have fuse or not. So I'm going to make a value that I want to save later called has fuse. And then I also need to know that if they got hit or not, so we can give them a speed boost so they don't just instantly die. For killer, I want to make them get stronger as the game progresses so it's not an infinite stalemate, so I'm going to add current strength and I'm going to make sure to save this so that I know what values I want for next episode. You're also going to want to plan out what interactions you have if you don't have them. In my case, I need fuses and fuse boxes and doors. And for killers, the base kit interaction you're going to want is attacking.